trim this video. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am glad you're able to join us. I'm excited that Adele, do you prefer Adele George or Adele M. George?
Either one. Marie is my middle name, so I just always, so it doesn't matter. Adele George is fine.
Okay, so is it Adele Marie? Is that what?
That's my middle name. Adele is what I go by, though.
It is Adele. Okay, it's important what you go by. Very important name. Very important. All right. So anyway, guys, welcome to some enthusiastic training. My name is Clay, and we're going to be talking about branding today. So I'm just going to let you know, I like to help people live enthused, empowered, and enabled lives. I love helping people live enthusiastically. Back when I did some of the first steps that we're going to talk about, we're probably going to talk about today. I'm assuming we're going to talk about today. The questionnaire came back, what's the thing about me? And it was my enthusiasm. And so I rode with it, and I'm going with it. And so let's live enthusiastically. Yeah. The training today is going to be, there's no sales. Like I said a few moments ago, but I need to repeat for you guys who are just joining. Down below, there is a few buttons. One button is a question and answer button. If you're watching this now, go ahead and click that button so that that form can come up so that you can ask questions as Adele hits things and it confuses you. If you have a question or an example or something like that that you'd like for her to like address specifically, or a question for me, that's the place to do it, the live Q&A button. If you're watching this on replay, obviously I'm not live. I probably will see your question at some point, and I'll do my best to get back. But but if you do want that question answered, that's one way to get in touch with me, and I'm sure that Adele's going to share how to get in touch with her as well before the end of this. The other button down there is this, Enthused Online Training. I have a huge series of training that I've started to accumulate. It was kind of spur of the moment at first, and now it's turned into this awesome series where we do this once a week. Let me know, or the way to sign up for that is below. If you would like to register, that way that you can be informed of the next training and the future training and the past trainings and all that good stuff that you can take advantage of, that's the way to do it. So there's a couple buttons down there. So who am I? What am I doing? All that good stuff real quick. Again, my name is Clay Green. I hit a deer going 85 miles an hour on a motorcycle a few years ago, and I didn't crash. That moment changed my life. It wasn't a near-death experience. It wasn't that, ooh, I want to live better moment. No, I'd already had that. That happened when I was younger, and I've been trying to live I've lived enthusiastically my whole life, hence the name. But the thing that happened when that happened, that deer hit, was I don't want to go into the gory details. I don't want to take any more time from Adele. The bottom line is it caused me to dive into my brain. And when I say my brain, I mean our brain. And when I say our brain, I mean everybody's brains. I started studying what's physically going on inside our heads. At the same time, the modern technology has changed dramatically, and they're just discovering stuff. Like Adele, I read this article recently. They just discovered a physical thing in our brain that they had never discovered before.
Right.
It's part of our lymphatic nervous system. So your lymph nodes and how all that stuff flows around your body. They just a few months ago found the physical connection between the body and the brain of that system.
Oh, wow.
How is that possible?
Right.
It's 2016. It blew me away. I'm like, wait a minute. There's stuff in here that the doctor doesn't know is going on. Trust me. There is. There's a lot, right?
Right.
I think you just, are you there? No, I'm sorry. I saw you say, go ahead.
I'm here.
Okay. So there's a lot going on in here. And basically I help people develop high performance habits and tactics and design their life so that they can take advantage of what we know about how the brain works now and hit their goals, get what they're shooting for, live a more enthused life. Yeah. And for many people, for most of my clients, that includes make a lot more money.
Yeah.
So I am really stoked at that part. Yeah. So Adele, welcome. Okay, I'm going to shut up. That's it. That's all the clay stuff. Now let's get into Adele. Who is Adele? What do you do? I'm so excited to start this process today.
Well, my name is Adele M. George, and I am so happy to be here today. I've got nearly 20 years experience in the marketing and advertising business. And I've worked with the likes of casinos and attorneys, which is where a lot of my personal branding experience comes from. Car dealerships, where it's a locally owned guy who puts himself out there. And I've worked with a number and variety of different types of clients, networked myself to death. I am now self-employed. I have my own company and I have my own clients. I freelance a lot and I do a lot of great work for a lot of great people. The big thing is, and it's so interesting that we're having this conversation about personal branding because it's big for me too. It's big for you. It's big for all of us. But as much as it is, I have to put myself out there too if I want to get more clients. So as much as it is that this is a great conversation for everyone else, it's a good refresher for me as well. And it's to make sure that I'm aligning everything. You know, my website isn't up right now, but I have someone making it. It's almost done. So it's under lock and key, you know, passcoded because no one can see it yet.
So a quick question right there. Does this bother you? Like I have a website up.
Right.
And I look at it and I'm like, okay, I need to change these words. I want to change this picture. Right. And so I come up with new words. And then the process is you come up with new words, you send it to your developer, the developer gets it up there, you know, and you look at it and you change it and you look at it and you change it. So this process is happening. And I have all these experts telling me, hey, I can help you. Like let me help you. I literally had a conversation with a really good friend, cool guy, the other day going, and he's like, I'm gonna use your website as an example and make suggestions that you can use to change.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I don't need more suggestions.
Websites are hard. Websites are hard.
Well, I'm just saying is that a common reaction, like overwhelmed from the fact that like you've got all this that you know you need to do?
It is, yes. It is definitely overwhelming. As a matter of fact, the friend of mine that's helping me, of course, she and I work closely together. She's helping me with my website and she's done many of them. I'm looking at her like, I don't know. And she's like, okay. She's like, that's okay. Let's just sit down and talk about it. And I'm like, okay, let's talk about this. Let's think it through. And for me, the difference between me and you as far as websites are concerned is mine is a placeholder. I mean, I'm going to have a blog on there, but I just need a place for people to find out about me when my name is mentioned and what I do. Whereas with yours has to be more active because what you're doing weekly stuff, you're constantly reaching out to people and stuff like that, where it's not so much the changing of it, but it's putting stuff up there. Like you're going to post this after. You're going to do these things after. So it's a little different because of that. Plus you're active in social media a little different than I am. So it's one of those things that everybody has an approach to it differently. But like I said, I just need people to find me.
And that's what we're here to talk about today, right? Figuring out your brand. So everybody take a second. Like I said, I keep saying I said this, but I've got my notebook handy. Grab a pen and paper. Adele's about to get started with what we're going to be talking about here, and let's get this show on the road. I'm freaking excited. Shut down Facebook, shut down Snapchat, shut down all that social media. This is the money stuff. This is the stuff where you take what Adele's saying, you apply it, you win.
Yes.
Now, the trick is if you take what Adele's saying and you don't apply it, that's where I come in. Okay, I help people get unstuck. I help people take action. If you're not taking action, real quick, if you've got a goal and you're working towards something and you stop, that's your subconscious. That's part of your brain. And if you understand how this works, you can take this blockage and you can turn it into a booster. You can turn it into a lifter. And that's what I help people do. All right, so Adele.
All right, so we are here to talk about personal branding. And personal branding, and especially in today's day and age, is really, really big. But before we run off, and if I keep looking away, it's because my notes are on a different screen. But before we run off on all this, let's just talk about what personal branding exactly is. You know, it's individual brand, it's individual reputation. It defines who you are. It's what you look like, it's how you dress, it's your passions, it's your values. And it separates you and what you do from everyone else. And in today's world, individualism is a big thing because of social media. So it doesn't hurt to let your light shine. It doesn't hurt for you to be who you are. There's a lot of us, I'm an introvert. So there's a lot of us that are, believe it or not, I'm an introvert. There's a lot of us that struggle, you know, with networking and putting ourselves out there. But when you start to define your personal brand, what ends up happening is you find yourself in a very comfortable space. Very comfortable, because what happens is it's who you are, it's what you know, and I can talk to you for days about marketing and advertising in any which direction. So, and it's like, but ask me about politics or ask me about other things or ask me to have small talk, and I nothing comes out. You know, I can't. But if you put me in my comfortable space, I'm a rock star. And that's what I want everybody to take away from this. And Clay, obviously, that's what you can bring out in them. You know,
that makes so much sense. That makes so much sense. Like, I've never heard it described like that, but I love it. Your personal brand is there to put you in your genius zone.
Mm-hmm.
Your comfort. Now, I don't know if I want to say comfort zone, but genius zone, I guess.
Well, and I think the way that I've always said this, and I'm not, this isn't negative speak when I say it, but my career has never failed me. My personal life has always been a challenge, but my career has never failed me. And so what I find is when I started to have when I started to become self-employed, where at that point you take on more responsibility, you take on, this now becomes your life. And when my personal life and my work life merged together, I all of a sudden became very comfortable, you know, with who I was, and opened up. Like, I blossomed, and everybody noticed the difference. And it took me a while to figure it out, but it was like, it's because I'm in a very comfortable space of me being me.
That's when you say your personal life. You mean when you started a business instead of having a job?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So, but
no, I get it. It took me a minute. I get it.
So in personal branding is just that you represent what you do, you know, whatever it is. For me, it's advertising. For you, it's high performance coaching. Could be the tech world. It could be whatever type of business anyone else is in to try to get where they want to go. It's representing what you do. Let's just kind of throw out a few names of personal branding, and this is not in any way to derail the conversation, but we're talking about people who have rock star personal brands. Donald Trump, Michael Jordan, you know, let me see who else I have. Mark Cuban. These are people that are out there, and we know that Mark Cuban loves basketball. You know, Michael Jordan, and we know he's an entrepreneur today. We know that he's done a lot. These are people that represent their personal brand. I mean, and we can talk, politics aside, Donald Trump's personal brand today is no different than it was 20 years ago. You know, he is who he is, you know, and that is, he puts his name on a building for a reason. It's Trump Towers for a reason. And that's his brand, you know, and whether, and again, politics aside, has nothing to do with politics, but you can look at anyone whose name is in the limelight. You know, and I told you when we spoke earlier, I was going to bring up Gary Vaynerchuk. If you're not familiar with him, I highly suggest that you research him. But he's a very genuine guy. He goes all over the country talking to people, giving like TED Talk type stuff, keynote speeches. And he just, he tells people, and pardon me for cursing, but he tells the audience, stop doing shit you hate. Be genuine to who you are. You know, and he's walking around in jeans and a t-shirt, and he's just this really cool guy. And it's finding that where you can merge your career and who you are. And I think, and I know that you'll agree, Clay, when you cross these two together, that's when epic things happen. And it just blows up. So,
Yeah.
you know,
So you see me taking that breath, right? Like,
yeah,
yes, that's when the good stuff starts. Yeah.
exactly. And, you know, you're a personal brand. I'm a personal brand. I have to network. I have to put myself out there. When I chose to name my company, I just named it AM George because I didn't want it to be some I wanted, people know me. They know my reputation. They know who I am. So I'm representing my personal brand as opposed to representing a company. You know, same thing with you. You're putting yourself out there. It's very personal to you. It's very much who you are. And so people buy into me and they buy into you because we're so passionate, because they know that when they hire us, they know we're going to do a good job for them. And that goes for anyone who's working on the goal of personal branding, is to just know that you're so passionate and you're so strong about what you do that, and again, I keep referring back to that comfortable space because it's a space where you blossom. It's a space where the worlds collide and you are who you are. So, and it's a philosophical perspective. It's a philosophical perspective, but we're going to move a little bit past that at this point. You know, but that's basically what a personal brand is. It's not, don't overthink it. It's who you are and it's how what you do overlaps. And that's it. And a lot of YouTube sensations and a lot of those people that are out there, a lot of people that are on Snapchat today are representations of these personal brands. You know, you can look at them and you can see that everything they do, everything they're invited to, they never leave their personality behind. They never leave their personal brand behind, and they sit there and they're making money off of this. You know, it's kind of crazy some of the way some of these people are making money on YouTube, but it's fascinating to me.
I love it. I'm so aligned with what you're saying. It's like there's a huge shift in a lot of different, from a lot of different perspectives, maybe in a lot of different areas of our life. And that's one of them that's happening. It's like people are realizing, not that people aren't realizing it. People have known this forever. They've been throwing it at us in TV, the whole reality show thing and all that stuff. It's not on TV anymore. It's here. It's like on your phone, and it's you're going to find the people that love you for you, that are crazy about what you're doing, that believe in your passion, and that align with the services that you provide or the skills that you have that you can help them with.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes, and it's so fun. I'm a super passionate person. A really funny story. One of my clients is a restaurant, and they didn't have their stuff listed in a particular place, and so I was like, "What the hell?" And he starts cracking up, laughing at me, and because I'm like looking at him like, "What the hell? Why aren't you there?" And he's like, "Your passion doesn't stop, does it?" He says, you're like, what, you know, why aren't you there? Why is this not happening? And he says, I can see you like wanting to come out the gate, like come up and say, what's going on? Why are you not there? And he's like, so it's that type of thing that excites people. Now, I do realize, and I think we should probably clarify that not every industry likes overly enthusiastic people like you and I, but it's still the same thing. You know,
there's room for everybody wherever you're at.
Yeah.
Let me jump in real quick. Everybody, I see a lot of people are joining now. We are definitely in the middle of this with Adele talking about personal branding. There is 2 links below. I want to point out one more time. One is sign up for more information about this. So if you came here through a link and you are not on the list, I have a lot of other awesome training. Get on that list and we'll talk about that. And that way you're informed of the next training. Also the Q&A link. Click on the Q&A link now. Let me know who you are, where you're at, where you're from, and all that stuff. And have that form ready for when Adele says something and it makes you go, wait, what? And you want to type a question.
Yep.
And I'll do my best to get those to her. All
Fire
right,
up.
Adele. So
Interrupt us
what's the
anytime.
next step? We've talked about embracing who we are, basically, right?
Yes, that's what personal branding is. Embracing who you are and merging what you do professionally with who you are personally. But how do you determine your brand? And Clay, this is where we're going to bounce off of each other, because you have to take a deep look at yourself and you have to evaluate your strengths, your weaknesses, your passions, and your purpose. What is your, or your goal? Because some people it's purpose, some people it's goal, and then in self-exploration is such a deep thing. And it's like you said, with your subconscious, you have to get, it's very hard sometimes that we don't see ourselves the way other people see us. And that's practically impossible. It's impossible for us to feel what the fondness that other people see in us, or to the respect, or whatever it is that, they have. It's very difficult to see all of that. So in it really is. And it's like when I find out somebody's like, they are so happy with you and they're doing a great job. I'm like, really? They like me? Yeah, exactly. So, but like I said, this is where you let your light shine. This is where your brand matches your personality, and your brand is who you are and what you do. So that's why I said this is kind of where you come in, Clay, because you're going to get them unstuck. If they're having trouble with their brand, if they're having trouble trying to find these things, it's digging deep into you. It's sitting down and making that list of who am I and what do I do? It's pulling all of these details together. And
Totally.
one of those things that actually you could do a whole webinar on just that. You can literally just sit down and talk about it.
I do. It's tomorrow.
Oh, hey, that's awesome.
Sort of. Because the way what Adele's talking about, guys, and when she's talking about for a perfect example, she said we're going to start bouncing off of each other, and then she started talking about going into purpose and digging in here a little bit. I got nervous.
Mm-hmm.
My body reacted, and that's the key. So this is me, and this is my subconscious. I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm changing, and I'm learning all kinds of stuff all the time on how to outsmart my subconscious, if you would, because my subconscious wants to keep me safe. Like right now, it wanted to keep me safe. It did not want me to expose myself to Adele or to everybody else watching. And so it made me feel uneasy. It did that, and and we can go into gory detail of how. But the bottom line is you have to start being aware, because your subconscious is always, always, always going to be trying to stop you. Mm-hmm. Developing those habits and those practices and being honest with yourself usually requires an outside perspective, and that's where Adele comes in.
Yes. And that's the thing is, and you're exactly right, because even for me, it's like, I need to find out what's going on with my client. I need to get their radio spot. Is it done yet? Is it this? Is it that? And then I look at my phone and I'm like, but I know he's busy. But I know he's got things to do. And I kind of recoil, because I don't want to be the one to interrupt his day. I don't want to be I don't want to be a source of frustration. But at the same time, I need what I need to do my job. And you hit that wall, and then I have to take a step back and go, yeah, but you need what you need in order for you to be able to do your job effectively for him. And he's going to be like, why, Adele? Why aren't you calling me? Why aren't you bugging me? Why aren't you in my face? So even for me, the little introvert, I still have to come out of my shell every now and then and go, hey, hello. It's challenging. So it's funny. It's really funny. But determining your brand is really all about self-exploration. I don't really know that there's any other way to determine it. And like I said, it's who you are, it's what you do, and bringing those two together. And in a genuine form, it's not making someone. You don't build a personal brand off of an idea that you want to be like Mark Cuban, or you want to be like this guy. Doesn't mean like Gary Vaynerchuk, for instance, is in the advertising and marketing business. So he's someone that, I look to and I'm like, that dude's just impressive. He's really awesome to me, but I don't emulate him. And I just look at him and go, he's genuine. He got here because he did these things. Now, how do I do it to get, to grow, to be? So I want to just a word of caution in the sense that I don't want somebody to try to develop something they aren't.
So you said a few moments ago, you rattled off what sounded like 5 or 6 different words that started with the letter P, and I feel like that's like step one, right?
Yeah.
Defining all that stuff. What were those again?
It's your purpose, your passion, your personality, you know, who you are at the core. You know, you really, really, really want to, and it's hard. It's hard for people to go in internally sometimes. Doesn't mean you have to, this is not fighting your demons. This is just representing who you are. This is not, don't overthink it, you know, and that's what I tell a lot of people a lot of times. And we're going to talk about marketing strategy and all that stuff in a minute. But people are always like, and I'm like, don't overthink all of this stuff. You know, don't make it so that it's complicated. It's actually kind of simple. You know, it's a very basic thing. It's not like you have to, when you look at somebody like a Donald Trump, and again, I'm just using him as an example because he is a good personal brand example. You know, who he is today and who he was 20 years ago is a lot the same, but it's developed over time. So this isn't something that you're going to pull your personal brand together and you're just going to be like, that's who I am. This is going to grow and this is going to develop. And just like you said, you're learning every day. I'm learning and growing every day. And every day I step into more confidence. I get over my fears, just like you are. And just like we look closely at ourselves, but it shifts. You know, it shifts once you come into your personal brand and once you come into who you are. And then you realize, hey, you know what? I'm pretty cool. You know, I have a lot to offer.
There's those times, and then there's the other times where you're like, oh no.
Yeah, negative self-talk is always the worst. But then you go and you kind of let that little subconscious come back and go, hey, look, you're a cool person. It's okay. You know, but, you know, defining your brand and these kind of overlap where you talk about how you determine it and how you define it. You know, and what I wrote down on my notes is defining your brand is what you put out there. It's your representation. It's who, you know, I know that I can go to a meeting dressed really nice in jeans. It's my personal preference, even if everyone is in suits. And I'm not going to feel like I'm uncomfortable because it's my personal brand. It's who I am. And because the industry is a bit marred by people who've taken advantage, like advertising industry, taken advantage of people, there's a little bit of a trust issue. I try not to come in dressed up like a stuffed suit. You know, I try not to come in as a power player. I come in willing to help. I take that down a notch and I try to eliminate those I don't trust you sort of vibes. I don't walk in the room in that way because but of course that's also who I am. I'm a genuine person. I don't lie. I don't cheat. I don't steal from my clients. So, but it's what you want people to see about you and know about you. It's your image, your reputation. It's what you put in blogs. It's what you put in vlogs. It's your social interaction. And you know, where you float, what spaces you float around in, whether it's Facebook or Snapchat or Twitter. You know, we've seen time and time again, and it happens to actors and actresses all the time. They put something on Twitter that gets them in trouble. You know, and then they fall from grace. They'll say something negative and they'll fall from grace, or they'll just, something will be completely misconstrued. So who you are, when you're talking about a personal brand, I will tell you personally, I think about everything I post on Facebook. And in the sense that I don't get into anything personal. I don't get into anything judgmental. I don't comment on politics. That's not, number one, that's not my space. But number two, it's because when people are going to research me and they're going to look for me, they're not going to find any of that. They're not going to find the stuff that could turn somebody off. And so you really have to be careful because now your brand and who you are the same thing. And the thread, it's a fine, fine thread. So, you know, remember the whole controversy of like, human resources, if you're applying for a job at a company, they can go on Facebook and check you out and see what kind of person you are. I remember a few years ago, that was like a big deal.
Yeah.
So that kind of stuff, while there was the big thing of, well, I don't want to be judged on my Facebook page, but I know that it's going to happen. You know, we know that if I'm going to meet a new person, I'm going to go to Facebook and I'm going to Google their name. You know, it's what we do today. It's our habits today. So put out there who you are or what you want people to see.
So my question starts to get a little perplexing here because like we could go down and talk about gun control, politics, religion, and who you are or who I am. Our past and what we believe in those realms make us a lot of who we are, or at least have colored it and
Mhm.
shaped it and built it. So when you say don't, you don't. You say
Right.
you don't
Right. I
put
don't.
politics out there. Somebody may be okay with that, right?
Right. And that's the thing is I don't think it's wrong. I'm just thinking that you need to be aware of what you're, again, it's that self-awareness. Be aware of what you're putting out there. You know that depending on how important what you're doing is to you, you can be judged on that. It's unfortunate, you know, but you have
I
no
would
opportunity to defend yourself.
I would change that statement. I don't think you could be judged. I think you will be judged. I
Yes.
mean, that's what we're talking about, right? We're talking about putting content, putting pictures, putting whatever out
Hmm.
there
Hmm.
so that people judge us the way that we want to be judged.
Right.
The highlight reel.
Right. And look, and the thing is if you have a political opinion, if it's gun control, if it's something, one of the things that I'm very strong against is domestic violence awareness. Well, not against, generating, I am for domestic violence awareness. So if you go on my Facebook page, you will find posts with a commentary with a good article that highlights something about generating awareness about domestic violence. Gun control, politics, I think is the thing that's important, I think, is that it's educated, it's not said in anger, it's not said in spite, and right, because that's what's going on right now anyway. And I think that if you're, like you said, you will be judged. So whatever you put out there, just make sure that it's a good representation of who you are. If I was to put something out there about, let's say, gun control, I would make sure that my commentary that I went with the article, was something of intellectual status. And it showed that I had some thought. It showed that, you and I may disagree, but you're going to go, she's thinking about this. This is something, and not everybody's going to agree to disagree and all this stuff. I mean, we're a very passionate society today, and we have way too many outlets to express that passion.
So what I just heard was one of your uh, defining things is you want to be seen and you feel like you are intelligent.
Mm-hmm.
So more important than I think we should all carry guns, or I think that none of us should ever have guns. More important than that, it's when we're talking about that, I'm not an idiot. I'm sorry. I'm not a hate mongering, name calling person. Let's look at this intelligently according to this stat. So I see what you're saying. There's a
Yeah.
difference just in the flavor of the content that you would share.
Exactly, exactly.
Okay.
And it's a stop and think moment. And as you're going to come into your personal brand more, and as you're going to become more self-aware, I think it's only going to be natural that each of us are going to be more aware of what we put out there. You're going to think about it, and you're going to, because I'm going to tell you, when I first started working for myself, I had this dinky little website. And this guy went to it and said, because someone had recommended me to him, and he said, well, I mean, I'm happy to meet with her, but her website is crap. And all of a sudden, my 20 years of experience, my wealth of knowledge got flushed right down the toilet because my website was crap. It could have been anything else, and it stopped it. So, and that's a really much a better example, but my point being, is like that hurt my heart. I was just like, but I'm so good at what I do, but I can help you, but it doesn't matter. at that point. You know, he's out, he's gone, you know, so at that point, you just let it go. You breathe and you let it go. So it's an understanding that everything is a representation of who you are. And that if you're trying to grow your brand, now there's two ways you can do this. On Facebook, you can have two different pages. You know, you can have a page that's a business page. And I'm not talking about a fan page. I'm talking about two separate Facebook pages. One that's for personal and one that's more of a professional one. You can do stuff like that. You can monitor yourself. But I think as you become, and I feel very strongly about, as you grow your personal brand, you grow. And so you're going to start to realize, and you're going to get those little comments back, and you're going to see where you're like, okay, you know what? Top of the list, as soon as I generate enough revenue, my website needs to get done. You're going to start moving these things differently. If you're going to find out that someone takes offense to something like, let's just say gun stances and stuff like that, depends on who it is. It's overcomplicating the matter. If somebody's really going to say, oh my God, he looks at everything else on your Facebook page and sees that you're this outgoing great guy who supports everybody else, but you have this stance on guns. There's a problem there if he judges you just on that. But if your entire Facebook page is filled with stuff like that, and you're going, I don't know what's going on, you might want to take a look at yourself. It's a real self-exploration. You can go to my Facebook page. It's not filled with stuff about domestic violence awareness. It's filled with pictures of my dog and pictures of my friends and things, you know, and funny stuff. So it's that kind of stuff. So you really, you know, and Clay, when you're working with your clients and you're talking to them, this is something that you really have to explore, is their social media image. If they have none, or what is it, the one that they have, and is it okay? And sometimes people are unwilling to waver from that. But I watched some people that I used to work for that share some very explicit opinions, and they're also friends with their clients on Facebook, and it's very difficult for me. You know, it's very, like, I have my clients on my Facebook page too, because I also monitor their business pages. So I think twice.
Oh yeah.
I think twice before I post something. So we got off on a little bit off a tangent here, but it's important. It's important. You know, it's important when you come to personal branding that you have to realize that all of a sudden you're intersecting these two worlds, your personal life and your career. And
awesome.
There's no longer there's really not a big separation between the two. But moving along, you know, once you've determined your brand, it's your 10-second elevator speech. You know, when you walk in the elevator and you're like I can say, my name's Adele, I'm a marketing strategist, I'm a project manager, I'm a media planner and buyer. What I do is I help clients, you know, grow their revenue, reach their maximum revenue potential. And that right there is enough to spawn a conversation. You have to have that. And you can basically define it. In sales, I guess you call it the 10-second elevator pitch, but you can, you know, you define it in just a few sentences. That's why it's not very complicated. You know, it's very basic.
That's not, I don't want to use the word mission statement, but I feel like it's very mission statement-y. It's a summary. It's a quick, here's what I do. Like, I help people live enthusiastically.
Exactly.
Get into my thing. Okay.
Exactly. You know, what does that mean that you help people live enthusiastically? That is going to spawn the question if they're interested and they want to know more. You know, they're going to do that. I can basically say I'm a marketing strategist. You know, I've spent 20 years and I have with an expertise in media buying and planning. And then they're going to, oh, okay, cool. And if they have
how do we take it from the purpose and all that stuff down to this?
That, I think, it's a very interesting process, and it's not really a challenging one as much as it is you look at what you've put out there, and you say it. It's two things. It's defining what you do, and it's saying it with a smile. You know, it's saying with a smile.
I love what you just said, though. It's looking at what you put out there, and that's why most of the people that I work with, getting something out there is like the first step. Never, like, you don't need an elevator pitch to start sharing your good stuff, your content.
Right.
You don't need to go through all this. This is, it's almost like it's a process. This is not we're not gonna solve everything in an hour situation.
No.
Right? It's a process.
Personal branding is growth and development. It's really comes back to growth and development, and from a marketing standpoint, from a personal standpoint, and then, like you said, eventually you're going to come upon your 10-second elevator pitch, and it is kind of like a mission statement, I think. But in a mission statement, you tend to with the mission statements that I've encountered, they tend to be they tend to be kind of forced in some ways, where you're defining, what it is that everything is about. Whereas this is just like, you're like, hey, Del, what do you do? Well, I'm a marketing strategist. This is, and then you're like, okay, what is that? And it's that kind of thing. It's taking it and not being forced. Again, personal branding, ultimately the goal is for this to be natural and representative, complete representation of who you are.
Awesome. Sorry, just a couple things. Okay, so real quick, let's do a snapshot. I'm sorry, I just got distracted because I was looking at the questions real quick for Adele. There's nothing that we're not covering yet. It's good to see everybody. There's a few people saying hi. It's good to see you guys too. It's awesome to see you, Anna, Talia, Randy. It's good to see everybody. I'm glad you guys are all out there and enjoying this. Where are we at, and what do we need to cover still? We got about 15 minutes left or so.
Okay,
I want to make sure.
The last thing is define your goal and how to market your brand most effectively. And define your goal is simple. Your goal is basically figure out what it is and reverse engineer it on how you're going to get there. You have to define your goal.
We're talking, when you say goal, I want to make sure we're clear. I have a goal of a certain amount of income per month.
Mm-hmm.
Or I have a goal of I want to be a millionaire or a billionaire. Is that what we're talking about?
We're talking about that because
or I want to have 50 Facebook likes.
Yeah, both. But the thing is this, is your end goal. If you want to be a millionaire, how the heck do you do it? You're going to need those 50 Facebook likes. So that's like a micro goal. That's a micro goal. That's part of it. But the big goal, the big goal. My big goal is to do great work and have great clients that are going to stay with me for a long time. So it's to align myself with the proper people that are going to bring me and help me, and so that it's not going to be so hard for me to find clients. It's networking, it's things like that. So if your end goal is to gain more clients, to help more and more people grow, then how do you accomplish that? And that's part of just planning and marketing strategy. But you have to go, it's a reverse engineering process, as Gary Vaynerchuk says. You have to define the goal, and then you have to go, okay, if I want to make $1 million, how do I go about making $1 million? Well, if you don't have an ingenious idea or a way to make $1 million, then you have to figure out what it's going to take for you to make $1 million.
Step one, figure out, we call this the business model, right? Or your mode of transport to your goal.
Mm-hmm.
But this is something that I help people do a lot is it's when you start gigging around and playing around and kicking around the anthill with your big why.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing to me. It always comes down to whatever your real purpose is. It turns out you currently have it.
Mm-hmm.
So you just kind of want to polish it, or you want it's really weird. I don't want to go. I can spend like you. I can spend forever talking about that.
Yeah, but it's the most important thing is defining your goal. And that's the thing. And again, like you said, I know this isn't salesy, but it is thing. That in other words, where people like you and like myself help our clients reach their goals. My client comes to me and says, I want more revenue. Then I'm going, okay, let's figure out how we're going to do that. So, and it's a group effort. It's not always an individual thing. And I think people need to also realize that too. Sometimes you need other people to help you realize these things. The last thing is how to market your brand most effectively.
Yeah.
Some people, this is stepping out of your comfort zone. And I'll tell you, it's probably not. You're a bit more outgoing. You're all over Snapchat. I put my dog on Snapchat. You know, I'm a little bit more shy. I do it, but I'm a little bit more shy when it comes to having a daily conversation with whatever is out there on Snapchat. And again, I have my clients following me on Snapchat, so that makes me a little nervous. You know, I don't go to the bar and show myself doing shots. Yeah, knowing that my client, who I have a great relationship with, so it's not like it's just that I don't want them to see me that way. So I kind of question myself a little bit more, whereas some people are more outgoing, some people are more comfortable in that space. But it's stepping out of your comfort zone a little bit, to gain visibility, to gain recognition. But the most important thing is to organize your efforts so that it's consistent across all, you know, all whatever you're doing. Where if you're doing a blog or a vlog or YouTube or Facebook or Snapchat or Twitter, it all has to be the same. You can't put yourself out on Facebook in one way and put yourself out on Snapchat in a different way, because people aren't gonna they aren't gonna match.
Define, like you say that, but those mediums all are different. A good example is Snapchat versus Facebook, or not versus, but
Yeah.
Snapchat and Facebook. There are experts on both of those mediums, and both of those experts will tell you they're different, and so you have to put different stuff out in different ways in here. So how defined can we get right now in the few minutes we have left on that consistency?
That's a fabulous thing, because let me put it to you this way. I will see you on Snapchat. I will know that you're talking about journaling and meditating, and you're talking about how you're a high performance coach and what it is that you do. So then that leads me over to Facebook, where I can find in-depth content. I can find, you know, all the memes that you share, all the positive stuff that you share, the invites that you share, everything that you share. So it's basically a constant thread. It's just that one is a launch pad to the other. Now on your Facebook page, your Facebook is your snap code. Your image, your Facebook picture is your snap code, correct? So then you're launching people, once they found you on Facebook, you're launching them over to Snapchat, which is where they're going to find more of you, more of your personality, more of who you are. And it takes us out of this black and white sort of Facebook, where they get to experience you, unless you're posting videos on Facebook is what I mean, you know, where they get to see you, but yeah, you know, they get to see who you are. And so, but it's the same message. You know, it's the same thing across all, you know, and then on your website too. So you have 3 points of contact. All 3 points of contact have the same message, the same image, the same content. It's delivered in a different way. And Snapchat enables me to respond to you and say, hey, I like what you said. Facebook enables me to read more, to look at you more, to scroll down your page, find out more about what you're about. Your website enables me to, how do I get in an email or get a part of one of these webinars? How do I hire you? What do I do? You know, so each one is a jump, each one, and you can go either way. You know, they can go back and forth. It's not like you have the website, this, that, it's a circle. It's not a line, it's a circle. It's a circle.
Oh.
It's a circle of marketing life.
Oh, circles. I love circles. You're hitting, like, you keep hitting on these things that trigger thoughts in me, and I'm like, no, don't say it. Keep listening. This is good. I love the circle though.
Yeah.
And then there's LinkedIn and Twitter, and yeah.
Oof. The list goes on and on. So your marketing strategy and how to market your personal brand is just to remain consistent. Once you define it, once you get to it, it's just to remain consistent. And it's to understand that you utilize each one for its maximum potential. And knowing that, like I said, you tell people, go check out my website. You know, you can tell people, go check out my Facebook. On Facebook, you can tell people, go check me out on Snapchat. You can, they all interlink. But what's going to happen is when you go from Snapchat to Facebook, they're not going to find something completely off topic. You know, they're not going to find, you know, that kind of thing.
All of a sudden, I'm not out shooting guns and drinking beers on Snapchat. If that's if I'm using that, yeah. If I'm there under my name, yeah.
And the thing is
okay.
I don't want to scare people off. You can have a personal Snapchat. You know, you can have a personal side to life that doesn't expose people to your business. You just have to have that conscious decision, and you have to draw that line in the sand so that you separate the two, so that you drive the right people to the right places. And that's all this boils down to.
A big part of Snapchat, for example, is more personal. You get to see behind the scenes more. So if you guys aren't on Snapchat yet, get over on Snapchat and follow me. You might see another part of my house other than my awesome poster of Craig Kelly. Anyway.
But that's it. We can move on. We can get to questions. Okay. That's basically.
What would you say? Let me actually, I've closed the website. I'm sorry. What is the most important piece of this? Like, that was one of the things, one of the bullets or whatever. It's like the most important part of everything that we've talked about. We've talked about. Go through everything real quick. Big picture, everything we've talked about.
Okay, we talked about what personal branding is, and that it is part of its intersection of your career and who you are, or what it is that you do and who you are. And then how do you determine your personal brand, which is the self-exploration. Not putting anything out there. Not putting anything out there that isn't genuine, that's fake. People are going to smell that a mile away. Defining your brand and defining the goal, and, you know, determining your brand all kind of overlap, because one is gonna lead into the other. You know, totally. But the marketing strategy part of it is, I'll say this, that's the end. That's the end of when you have all this nice, that's the ribbon on the package. When you have it all nice. So the most important part is getting real with who your personal brand is, what is it, and growing it. You know, and what's the word I want to say? I love analogies, and I'm actually at a loss for one right now. My favorite one is keep throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks. You know, but that's kind of it. It's keep coming, you know, defining who you are, exploring who you are, and how your career intersects. Because if you're going to put yourself out there as your personal brand, that's how you have to do it. You know, if you put it out there as company ABCD, then company ABCD is the representation, and you're just the person that's a part of it. But when I'm putting my name on my business card and my company is my name, and just like your business is you have to be willing to show who you are and expose yourself.
And know who you are.
Yes. So
that security, that what I found personally is like the work that I've done to know who I am and to accept who I am has led to the confidence and the security that has attracted my clients.
Yeah.
That all ties to, and then now this was awesome.
Yes.
Just thank you. This was awesome. There are a couple questions, like specifically, like people are asking very specific stuff, like an Amazon product. How do we brand an Amazon product with, but what I've gotten out of that is what I've gotten from what you've told me. Tell me if I'm wrong. So that is one of my, for whatever reason, several people I know and clients I have are working with Amazon, for example, and they're building a business that is producing a product, one product, let's say, and then they're going to come along with another product that's similar, but not even in the same. Well, it's similar, and so how effective is it to produce a company brand versus a personal brand? When do you decide when to tie yourself to that product or not from a personal standpoint? Is that too specific of a question?
It's not really. Basically, I would be honest with you. My gut instinct tells me it's a personal preference. You know, it's a personal preference as to whether you want it to be a company or whether you want it to be, this is my company and this is what I'm doing for you. And that goes back to, you know, the little introvert in me, in some cases would like to have, you know, George marketing strategy and hide behind that. And I'm not saying that people are, I don't want people to misconstrue that they're hiding behind the company name. What I'm saying is you can do that and you can put the company name out there, and then it's an us, it's a we, it's a who we are. Whereas when you put a personal brand, it's an I. You know, that's really kind of the difference. And now I have a team. I have people that I hire out to help me, you know, that do web development, social media and stuff like that from my company. So I can say we, I can say us, you know, because I have a team. So if you have a team, you're still not an I, but you're still I'm getting clients in because of who I am. So I say it's a personal preference. You know, if you're proud of your brand, put yourself out there. If you're proud of your company, say, this is my company.
Interesting. The other piece of that that triggered when you were talking about that, and we got to wrap this thing up here in a second, is the your exit strategy. Like if, for example, you could build a company and George Media, you could sell that one day, but you can't really sell you. So there's a decision making, that's part of the decision making as well there, and I can see that.
Yeah, and I think that in the case of our conversation and what we're talking about today, an exit strategy is so far down the line. You know, that if someone, look, we all know that there are people out there that come up with the next best mousetrap and can sell the company in 6 months and walk away with $1.2 million or $2 billion or whatever. But reality is that's the 1%. So an exit strategy is something that, while I think it's premature to talk about that kind of stuff at this point, unless it's an end goal, but then your goal is, I want to have the widget, I want to make $1 million, and I want to sell it. So you still have to define that business plan.
It comes back to the purpose. It comes back to your purpose. That's what I was going to say, because I do have clients that are building software as a service businesses and other service businesses and other businesses where they are looking at that as a strategy. They, you know what I'm saying? Their strategy is part of their purpose. So interesting. It comes back to that purpose though.
Yeah. And then you said, I sold it. Yeah. Proudly.
That's your personal brand though.
Yes.
You're a guy that does that. You become that person and
it defines your success. When you say I sold it, if I sell off my company because it's that successful, because somebody else wanted to take it away from me, not take it away, but wanted it. Sometimes my choice of words is strange. Then that's my launch for success. That's somebody's coming to me and saying, I want to buy your company, or I want to buy your business model, or I want to buy what you're doing. And when somebody knocks on your door, or when you go and you meet with somebody and say, I have this product to sell, I have this software to sell that's going to change your life, or it's going to change your business, or the scope of how we do things, that's defining your success, and that's your goal.
Totally.
So then you reverse engineer it.
Divine your All right, Adele, okay, so let's wrap this thing up. First off, thank you. This was awesome. Great value. I'm excited to get the feedback and all that stuff from everybody that's watching and people that are watching on the replay. And in the future, this is going to be fun. I've got some work to do to get all these things sorted and put on the website. How do we get in touch with you real quick, Adele?
My website is not up yet, but it is adelgeorge.com. The other thing is my email, which is amgeorgellc@gmail.com. That's the best way to get me. It's super easy. I am on Facebook. You can find me on my personal page. I don't have a problem with that. Again, because my website's not up, my business page is not up and running yet either. So I'm getting there. See, me growth. That was on my end. That's part of me working towards my end goal. You know, I know that I need a good website in order to get where I need to be. So.
Yeah.
You know, but thank you so much for inviting me to sit down and have this talk. This has been an absolute blast.
It's wonderful. I love this. I love this process. I love watching people do this. I love learning. You're welcome. Guys, once again, Enthusiastic Clay. My name's Clay. I hope you had fun. Get in touch with Adele if you have marketing specific questions. She's going to, we're going to have links and all that good stuff in the emails and on this website. And yeah, you'll be able to see all that. Have fun. I'm going to